Sarah, how are you?
I'm good, Christy. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm so happy to have you here to share more with us about the Timothy School.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm very excited to be here.
Perfect. So, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey to become the executive director of the Timothy School?
Sure, I'd love to. So I started at the Timothy School right out of college. I went to school at St. Joseph's University, received my bachelor's in elementary and special education. I actually did not want to teach special education. I wanted to be a second grade teacher. But when I graduated, a friend told me the Timothy School was hiring. So I applied for a position and I became a middle school teacher. Fresh out of college, thinking I was teaching second grade, and I was in a room with 12 and 13-year-old autistic students. So it was quite a change from what I anticipated in my life. That as soon as I entered the building, I fell in love. And 23 years later, I'm still here. I taught for about 10 years, stayed in middle school the entire time. Loved the process of everything we did with our middle schoolers, focusing on life skills, helping them to learn to become more independent so they would eventually be able to grow and become independent in their own daily lives. And then moved into administration about 14 years ago. Started off as the assistant director, and then slowly but surely moved my way into the executive director role. I was a little hesitant at first to take on, going from a classroom teacher to administration and then eventually the executive director. But my love for the Timothy School has just grown continuously and tremendously over the years. And I knew that it was kind of a calling for me to become the person or become the role I am in today.
It's amazing to know that that's how it started, that you really didn't even intend to be in this specific type of environment, but then how it just caught you and captured your heart, and that you've stayed there for so long, and that now you're holding this position as executive director. That's the kind of story I love to hear about, especially from an executive director. I think it's unique, really, as someone in an executive director position, to have that type of history,
right?
In the organization before you take on that role. So the Timothy School is the oldest nonprofit approved private school in Pennsylvania, devoted exclusively to teaching students with autism. For over 50 years, the Timothy School has worked to develop an understanding of autism that recognizes the strengths and uniqueness of the children and the specialized methods needed to expand their educational opportunities. Can you tell us more about when and how the Timothy School was started, and what was the initial mission?
Yeah, so the Timothy School was originally started in 1966. It was a church mission out of Bryn Mawr Presbyterian Church in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. It was founded as just a mission, or a school for children who at that time were unable to attend school. Back in 1966, autism was not widely known about or hadn't been researched or studied yet. And children who had an autism diagnosis or who had autistic tendencies were often sent off to institutions, were forced to stay home. They were unable to be educated. So at the time, the pastor and a group of individuals at the church started the mission. It began with 9 students, I think there were about 5 teachers, and they brought them in, and they just started to work on developing their skills and teaching them and educating them and providing a place for them to go that was outside of the norm at the time.
Wow. So that really started pretty small.
Yes.
It
9
started children, considering how much you've grown into now.
Yeah. So now we operated out of Bryn Mawr Presbyterian Church until 1998. We rented space from there and Harcum College. And on the weekends, I wasn't there at the time, but I hear stories about how they had to pack up the classrooms because on Sundays there was Sunday school. So it was, the buildings were operating as a dual purpose. So every Monday morning they would have to come in early and unpack all the desks and the materials for the students. So eventually we outgrew that space, understandably so. And in 1998, we moved into the old Tredyffrin Township building. We renovated it into a school building. And when we first started there, we probably had maybe 45 to 50 students. We went to age 12, and then slowly but surely over the years, we continued or began to expand, and now we operate for students up to age 22. And we have, we're not just the township building anymore. We have various buildings across campus that we've renovated and developed into what our program is today.
That's amazing. So amazing. And really kind of in a short period of time.
Right.
I mean, that was a long enough time ago that, you had time to expand and grow. But the fact that you went from 9 students to what you have now and to operating on a full campus, that's amazing. So your model program emphasizes structured teaching, applied behavior analysis, functional communication, and positive behavioral supports as core components of your curriculum. Can you tell us more about how you work to create a daily environment for the students that encourages them to practice skills in natural environments?
Absolutely. Our students come, from 26 different school districts, and we have about 15 classrooms, as I said, ranging from ages 5 to 22. Within those classrooms, or within the 15 classrooms, we're broken down into our elementary, our middle, and our secondary program. And within each of those programs, every classroom team has a special education teacher, several teachers aides, and then speech therapists and occupational therapists. Those teams work together to develop an IEP for our students, which is an individualized education plan. And within that plan, they work with the parents, who we value as our most important and greatest team members, as they know their children the best. And they know their needs and what they are seeking for their children to be able to develop and do beyond school. So the teams work together to develop a plan looking at the students' strengths and needs and what skill areas they need to develop. And then they collaborate on an instructional program. And within that instructional program, it's, again, individualized is kind of a key word that we always go back to, but it's individualized to meet the students' needs. So we have our youngest students who are working on just being in a school, sitting in a chair, sitting at a desk, listening to directions, waiting, those types of things. Because of our population, we're working on life skills. So every aspect of the day is designed to be instructional. So even everything from eating a snack to, eating their lunch, preparing their meals. As they age into our middle school program, we really start to emphasize life skills. We have a daily living center where the students go a couple days a week, and they work on everything from making a bed to doing the laundry to emptying the dishwasher to deciding what they're going to eat for lunch that day and then preparing their lunch for themselves and then cleaning up afterwards. Those middle school students also start to do on-campus internships. So these are kind of the real life experiences that when they walk outside of school at the end of the day or at the end of their time at the Timothy School, we're preparing them for. So, in the internships, they work at a coffee cart we have, or a school store where they are the cashiers or they stock the shelves, and then the other students come in and shop at the school store. Again, going back to those real life experiences that they're going to be, going to the store on the weekends with their parents, so they're able to shop and wait in a line and make a purchase. And then our students move on to our secondary program, which is our 17 to 22-year-olds. And those students take what they've learned from the experiences in the elementary and middle school program, and they start to experience off-campus internships. So we have students who go and work at Wawa right down the street. It's a paid internship. They, restock the coffee area, greet customers, and then at the end of the day, they get a paycheck, and a lot of them get a shorty to bring home for lunch or back to school for lunch. So they love that. Other places, we have Holiday Inn Express, where our students go and restock the kind of breakfast buffet area. The best part about it is that they're all different. So we have these different experiences that really cater to the individual needs of each student there.
I love that. I mean, that's just
really cool.
So cool. I really didn't know all the levels of, or the ways I should say, that you have students getting themselves out there in these certain circumstances. But I'm also, as you're telling me this, thinking they would not get this any other way.
Exactly.
Right? Unless they were in a specialized environment that is catered towards giving them these experiences.
Yes.
They would not get it otherwise. That's just so incredible. And I would imagine so valuable to the family on the whole too, right?
Right.
That you're giving them experiences and help in ways that the family wouldn't know how to help them necessarily either.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And even, as I said, we value the parents as being the most important members of the team. And we strive to build collaborative relationships with parents right from the start. We work to help them in the home with what they need. For some of our students, they have difficulty with bedtime routines or brushing their teeth. going to the dentist, getting their hair cut. And our team, the individuals I mentioned, the speech therapist, OT, the teachers, and then we have a behavior analyst, a consultative services division, who they all come together to help the parents work on even developing those routines in the home. We're teaching the skills at school, hoping that they'll transfer over and generalize. But if they don't, we'll go out and help them there too. Similarly, we have one of our speech therapists is an AAC specialist, and AAC is alternative augmentative communication devices. A lot of our students are nonverbal, so they might use an iPad or a Dynavox device to help them communicate. And our AAC specialist will go into the home and help the parents, train them on these devices so that they can use them in the home. Our parents know their children the best. They always say, well, they don't speak, but we know what they're saying. But then we offer them, we help them learn these other devices that can actually enhance their communication abilities, and help them to further develop their skills, because they can communicate what they want, what they need, and just work together through those services.
That's amazing, because I would imagine that's a game changer in a lot of scenarios.
Absolutely.
Even if they believe that they are able to understand everything they're saying, when you have that type of device, maybe they're able to communicate that much clearer or better, or understand things that they didn't even realize.
Right, exactly.
Were there. That's amazing. So the vision of the Timothy School is to empower students with autism to achieve their greatest potential in all aspects of their lives. Can you tell us more about how the Timothy School is also working to increase community awareness, acceptance, and support of individuals with autism?
Yes, an important component of our mission is to spread that awareness. We do so through student placements, internships, fieldwork for college students who come and do their student teaching or do a field study there to learn more about autism. And in particular, autism it's a spectrum disorder. So there's a wide range of ability levels, and just we always kind of joke around and say, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, because they're all different. They're unique. They're special. So what goes on in an approved private school environment like ours, it's a more restrictive environment than a traditional, even in a school district, a special education setting. So it's crucial for student teachers, future special education teachers, to see an environment such as ours. Additionally, we have partnerships with schools like the Haverford School. We do a pen pal program with their third grade class. We've done it for years. They write letters back and forth. And over the years, it started as letters. And now, sometimes they do video chats or, moving ahead with today's technology. And then our students will go to the Haverford School for a day to spend the day with them, go to a music class, kind of have a pizza party. And then the Haverford School students will come out to visit us. Usually we do one visit in the fall and one visit in the spring. Similarly, we have a partnership with Shipley School where we do a basketball game with them every year. Their middle school students on their service days come out. And we're in TE school district, so we have some partnerships with different programs and classes within TE. And it's extremely important, we feel, to help raise community awareness. We always kind of, you see or or you hear that children start off very innocent and understanding and accepting and welcoming of everyone. And a lot of times as kids grow older, their biases start to grow just based on their surroundings and what they've seen or what they've learned. And we feel it's very important to, from a young age, educate children in our community about, yes, these kids have autism, but they're really no different than you. They might learn differently or process information differently, but they have feelings, they're people, and, it's nothing to be overwhelmed or afraid of. And we find that those relationships and partnerships help, those kids go home and they tell their parents that, well, I went to the Timothy School, and it's just getting the word out that, these kids are very important people, and, it's beneficial to know them, and they deserve to have the same kind of friendships and relationships and treatment that everybody else does.
I love that. And as you say, like, they're going home and sharing that with their parents too. It's, the awareness is a ripple effect.
Right, exactly.
And I think especially when you plant that seed in children, they're more vocal about it too.
Yes, exactly.
They're more eager to talk about it, and they're probably some of your biggest advocates.
They really are. And we've actually just this fall have had a few students who, one organization, Dom Fixes Bikes, this young student, Dom, who has a bike shop and, raises money to buy specialized bikes for different organizations. He came out and donated some bikes to us. We had the Mainline Tennis Academy. They did a fundraiser for us and their high school students who are running these organizations, and just, the outreach and coming together. It feels great to have these kids who are really just involved and wanting to do more and wanting to learn more about our students and our mission.
It's amazing. And those young people are going to be the future.
Exactly.
That's so encouraging to hear of young people doing things like that. So can you tell us about the Timothy School community? What makes it so special beyond the teaching and curriculum? How would you define the culture and community that families are able to be a part of?
The Timothy School culture and community is, it's so unique. It's something that I've never experienced anywhere else. And we always say to people, it's just a feeling. We have people come in for tours all the time, whether they are, students or prospective parents, whoever they may be. And they all walk away saying the same thing. And they're like, you can just feel in this school that the love and care for the students, and it's just there. It's a supportive environment from day one. We want to help our students become, the best, most independent individuals they can be. We want to help the families. Life with autism is a challenge. It can be very tricky in so many ways, and it varies in ways from family to family. Whether a student is nonverbal and has no means of communication, or if they exhibit behaviors, sometimes aggressive behaviors or self-injurious behaviors. Our team, there's no challenge too great. They're always ready to face a new challenge, and they're going to keep working to figure out how to help that student in particular who might be going through an issue at the time. So that feeling is it permeates through the building, and it permeates through our faculty, through our community. We have our ups and downs. Sometimes it can be, tricky. But at the end of the day, when our families start with the Timothy School, they know that they're walking into somewhere that they're going to be embraced openly and warmly, and we're going to work together to do whatever is needed for our students.
It sounds like a very special place, and I can tell you that I can feel that in just even hearing you speak about it and knowing that you've been there for a really long time. And that actually leads me to my next question, because I read that at the Timothy School, the average tenure of your faculty and staff is 10 years. Right. Or more. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us about the importance of keeping that sort of cohesive long-term staff, and how does that most benefit the students?
Yeah, sure. So it is amazing. We actually, our administrative team, it's myself as the executive director, and then we have 3 supervisors of education, our supervisor of secondary education, our transition supervisor, and our supervisor of elementary education. The shortest amount of time that someone has been there is over 15 years. So, and the longest is over 30 at this point. So we all started off as teachers or teachers' aides, and, stuck around and worked our way into administration. And similarly, we have many teachers, teachers' aides, therapists who have been there, like you said, for 10 years or more. And the importance, I think, for our students is that we've all been there through a continuum of growth and progress. And, research is constantly changing and updating. There are newly available resources that come out. And the benefit is that we've seen so many of them. We've been able to work through changes and are constantly striving to do the best for our students. And those of us who have been there for the longer periods of time can then help to mentor and train the newer staff members who come in, our young teachers who are just graduating from college and, fresh out of school in their own classroom for the first time. Same thing with teachers' aides or speech therapists or occupational therapists. They're able to gain the knowledge and skill that we've developed over the years and then start to develop it into themselves. So it's just a continuous circle. We don't have to worry about, certain aspects of the program being lost. It's all about growth and progress.
And I would imagine it really continues to just feed the culture of
Absolutely.
the Timothy School. Like
Yes.
You're just keeping that so rich in this culture that it's always intended to be, but then you're building upon it.
Right, exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. And I love that. I mean, it says a lot too about just your program on the whole if teachers and staff want to stay that long.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
And,
That says a lot.
it is, as I've said, it can be a very challenging career, a challenging environment to work in. Our students have a lot of needs, and we try hard to meet those needs, but sometimes that can be draining for the individuals who work with them every day. But to have the culture and the support system that we have built and continue to try to foster and grow, I think helps everybody, to want to stay, to want to continue to see it through and work hard to just help our students grow.
Really, it speaks volumes, I think, about your program.
Thank you.
If that's the case. So what is one of your favorite stories about a former student or family, if you don't mind sharing, that's an alumni of the Timothy School?
Absolutely. There are so many. And to be honest, I've been thinking about, this for a while. One in particular that's more recent, and I'd love to give a plug. We have a former student, Brandon. He graduated several years ago, and just within the last, I've said recently, year or so, his family opened up a restaurant in Wildwood Crest, New Jersey. It's called Brandon's Pancake House and Ice Cream Parlor, and it is an inclusive restaurant that welcomes all people. It's a safe space for families with children with autism to go and eat. Oftentimes dining out really for anyone with kids, but especially for families with an autistic child, it can be overwhelming. Sometimes they may make noises that are alarming to other patrons, or, just have different issues, eating issues, whatever. So Brandon's family opened this restaurant as a place to welcome everyone. And Brandon works at the restaurant and is able to utilize many of the skills he began working on at the Timothy School: sorting silverware, wrapping silverware, wiping off tables, those types of skills that we work on to develop as life skills. It's just been amazing to see how they've been able to identify a need, but then also take the strengths of their son to, incorporate it into this business that provides him a space to work and be himself. And it's just an open space for everybody to come. What
a full circle.
Right. It's just so heartwarming.
Story.
And I'm very proud of them, and, proud of the Timothy School for having a tiny little part in such a wonderful success story.
I love that story. That's such a good story. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's full circle. Like everything you just explained to us about the intent of the Timothy School is on full display in what that family's doing now.
Yeah.
That gives me the chills, actually. So on this show, we often like to talk to the guests about defining the word compassion. So could you tell us what the word compassion means to you? And can you tell us the importance of compassion when it comes to the autistic community?
Absolutely. So compassion to me has always meant recognizing a need in someone or something else, and then having the strong desire to help meet that need, or just, build awareness or understanding. And I think for the autistic community, having been so closely involved for so many years through my lens, my lens is not the same as the families who live with an autistic individual or, experience that side of it. But from my experience, the importance of compassion within the autistic community is just an understanding, an awareness, and acceptance that, you might see someone out at Target or in a restaurant dining, and, being a little bit different, making some noises, flapping their hands, those types of, stereotypical or, behaviors that are associated with autism, and recognizing that there's no reason to stare or get upset or want to leave. They're just normal people who are experiencing life just a little bit differently, and just accepting that it's okay, that there's nothing to be concerned about, or just to let them live and to want them to experience life in all the ways that, your own family does or that you do. And then to take it a step further, to become advocates for the autistic community. The lack of funding and available programming and such that exists outside of, our students are great until they're 21, 22 years old. And then they leave the Timothy School or whatever programming they're in, and the options become more limited, and families have to fight for funding and work hard to make sure that they're in an environment where they can continue to thrive. So I think, compassion from others to realize that that's a real problem and to do what they can to, talk to legislators, yes, or look into how they can help to develop programs or, just provide opportunities, business owners who might be able to provide opportunities for, individuals with autism to work there.
So important that you bring that up because I think that, well, if you're not personally impacted by autism in your family, a lot of what you've said today is probably eye-opening,
right?
And I think that's so important. But that last piece that you were just talking about when an individual ages out of these school systems that have given them so much value and community and support, and then they're met just with, being left out in society where they don't have that type of support. I do see things shifting for sure. Like,
absolutely.
As you were telling me that story about that family in Wildwood, I know that I've also seen this was somewhere down south, but they had like a bakery that was the same type of.
Yes, there are a lot of places opening up like that.
I also saw there was a woman who, where is this? It's somewhere in the Midwest, and they're making like dog biscuits. They have this huge factory and they're making dog biscuits. And it was because her son and a friend that he went to school with both aged out of the school systems and didn't have that support. So their two moms created this huge business and factory, and they're making dog biscuits, and every single person that works there has autism.
Yeah.
And, I think to your point, that's amazing that these families are doing that, but as a society, we should be doing more.
Exactly.
To support them and to create spaces like that and to create opportunities. So it's not just falling on these families to figure it out for themselves.
Right. These families are superstars, and moms of autistic individuals especially are absolute superheroes. They are rock stars who can do it all. And there are so many stories out there like those moms who started the dog biscuit company, of we have to do something, and they're doing it. But they shouldn't have to do it alone. They should have more support from our community, our society to help them get started and help provide these opportunities.
Yeah. And hopefully they will be, inspiration to people and communities to get more involved. So thank you for sharing all that.
Absolutely. Sure.
I told you I've got goosebumps a couple times throughout this conversation. I just love what you're doing at the Timothy School. So lastly, tell us how listeners can get involved, how they can volunteer, how they can support, where they can follow you on social media and your website. Give them all the details.
Okay, great. We are always looking for support in any way, shape, or form that people are willing to give. Our website is thetimothyschool.org. And on there, you can go to learn more about the school, the programs we offer. If a child with autism or know someone who is seeking a school placement, learn more about the admissions process, learn how to support us, through donations or other fundraisers that we have. We also are present on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, just as the Timothy School. And we share a lot there about what we're doing on the day-to-day. It's a nice way for people to connect and see the amazing things that our teachers and therapists and teachers' aides and everyone are doing with our students and the incredible accomplishments that our students are achieving.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time today, Sarah, and sharing your own passion for the work that you do. It's very, very evident that you care deeply about what you do. And I get the feeling that everybody that works with you feels that way too. So thank you so much for just being the good, which is really what this podcast is all about. And thank you for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you so much, Christy. It was a true pleasure.